At the start of the film's story, we are introduced to a girl named Mary, who is caught by a man and starts torturing her. He tells her to start working for him, or else I will teach you a lesson. This bad man was doing the same thing to every prostitute like Mary, because when these girls were working for this man, he would get a lot of money. The next day, Mary was talking to her friends, and when one of her friends came to her, Mary's friend had married a very rich painter, and now she had a daughter too. She tells Mary to take care of her daughter for a day because she had to spend this time with her husband. For this, Mary tells her friend that she can take care of this little fairy more than she can take care of herself. But look, the problem is that man who is after us, that we should work for him, we are in danger from him, and how can I take care of my daughter in such a situation? Mary's friend takes some money from her husband and offers to give it to her, which she could give to the bad man and get rid of him. Hearing this, Mary is happy and agrees to take care of her daughter, but in a while, we see that in front of Mary's eyes, some people had forcibly taken her husband and his friend with them. Poor Mary gets worried because she had her daughter, who didn't even have money to feed, and now it was late at night. Mary's other friend now told her to take care of her daughter and went out to arrange the money, but on the way, suddenly some people caught her, cut off her throat, and murdered her. Not only this, but those beasts had also removed all the organs from her body. Next, the police come here, but when they don't understand this case, then the investigation of this murder is thought to be given to Inspector Frederick. Frederick was an expert in investigating crime scenes because of his sixth sense and a slight glimpse of the future. Today, his co-inspector comes to him, and when he tells him the story of this strange murder, he gets ready for the investigation. On the other hand, we are shown a doctor from the royal family. He was also the biggest surgeon in the city. He had found a method of surgery for the treatment of lunatics. The way he was going to experiment on a patient. This patient is none other than Mary Friend, the same friend whom some people had kidnapped with her husband, and now he was brought here by calling her crazy. The doctor starts his work on his head, and this is how the scene is cut, and we are shown Mary and her companions, who were talking about the murder of their companion. They felt that this was the work of the same bad man, who was forcing all of them to work with him. Now the bad man has just reminded her that he will come here again, and Mary Keene takes half of her work money, and by doing this, this girl gets sad and worried and leaves from here. On the way, a man gives her the greed of grapes and puts it in his car, and after going a little far, he cuts her throat mercilessly, and just like the previous murder. In the same way, the organs of this girl's body are also taken out. Now Frederick comes to this murder scene. He first sees the grapes and then takes this girl for medical treatment, which tells him that first her throat was cut, and then the killers attacked her chest, then cut her stomach and took out all of her organs and all of her intestines. Hearing this, Frederick now goes to his senior officer and tells him that this is not the work of a common man, this is the work of a surgeon. Because surgical blades have been used to remove organs from the body, which a common man cannot operate so skillfully, getting the grapes from the dead bodies proves that this is the work of a rich man. But the officer, ignoring this whole story, scolds Frederick and tells him to solve this case quickly and finish it. The next day, the funeral of the dying girl was held. Inspector Frederick also came here. He wanted to investigate Mary's companions, but all of them ignored him and went ahead. And when Mary talks about murder, Mary tells Inspector Frederick that, I think, this is the work of the same bad man who wants us to work with him, but Frederick did not have any evidence by which he would consider that man a murderer. Now at night, all these girls were talking to Mary, when the owner of their house came and threw them out because they had not paid the rent of their house for a long time. On this side, the killer was also ready for another hunt, and he traps Mary's companion in the greed of grapes and cuts her throat painlessly. As we know, Frederick, even in this, when he meets the evidence from the last murder such as the tendrils of grapes and many organs from the body, he himself goes to a hospital. Here, Frederick first meets a young doctor and asks him to help him in his murder case. This doctor has no interest in this, but the doctors of the royal family present here agree to help him. Frederick shows them a drawing on the board of the weapon with which the killer was killing everyone. Seeing this, which the doctor thinks is a surgery blade, he shows Frederick his surgery blades. Seeing as Frederick's doubt turns into belief that the murderer is a surgeon. With his good sixth sense and investigation talent, he knows what the next murder killer will do. As soon as he finds out about that place, he orders his fellow policemen to spread there. While in this scene, we are shown the driver of the killer, who who supported the killer in every murder, but now that he was tired of this deal because the police were also investigating him, he starts requesting the killer to stop all this. But the main killer says this is not possible because we are in hell, and doing all this is our helplessness. Scene cut here. On the other side, Frederick meets Mary about the murder investigation of his fellow police officer. Mary answers his questions and also tells Frederick about his best friend and his husband's kidnapping. He also remembers the look of the kidnappers. In this conversation, they become good friends, and Frederick tells her about his superpower too. For helping Mary's friend, Frederick meets his colleague inspector and tells him about the kidnappers. Frederick tells him that the person you are talking about is a royal officer who works for Queen Victoria. He takes Frederick to his office. Frederick steals Mary's friend's file while his friend is distracting people outside the office with a burning drum. Using this commotion, Frederick escapes. After finding out about Mary's friend, he takes Mary to his friend's mental hospital, who cannot talk to Mary anymore, so they leave the hospital and go to an art gallery. Mary sees her friend's husband's painting there, and when she reads his name under the painting, she is shocked. The painter was not an ordinary man, but the grandson of Queen Victoria. As known, this Frederick was also shocked. To confirm this, he goes to a foreign royal family doctor, who has a young doctor outside his office. Once he gets a chance to enter, he tells the royal doctor that he thinks that the prince is killing all these prostitutes. But the doctor says no and tells him that the prince is very sick and that he is treating him for proof. The prince is shown sitting on a chair, on which the young doctor was performing a ritual. So, Frederick was also busy with his investigation from another angle, and one day he gets a letter from the killer. The letter also had a half-human kidney, which the killer had eaten. All this was told in the letter. When he sees where the letter came from, it is only written on it. Here it is shown that the killer is preparing for another murder, but the killer gets stuck in a car. Anyhow, he cuts her throat mercilessly, and before he can remove his organs, a man's eyes fall on him, and they run away. When Frederick reaches the crime scene and sees the girl's body, he understands that the killer will commit another murder, and he is unable to remove the organs from the body. Frederick tries to move, but some men catch him. These were the people of the royal officer who worked for Queen Victoria. These people beat him up because he started an investigation into the royal officer. Frederick also thought that this royal officer could be involved in the murder of prostitutes because he works for Queen Victoria. To hide his identity, he must be killing all the prostitutes. Once Frederick beats them up, then he gets up and reaches the second murder. His seniors also came here, and we saw the killer had written something on the wall, that is, Jews are not behind all these murders. As before, the people of this country thought that Jews were behind all these murders. Frederick's senior officer tells him to remove all this from the wall, but he does not do this, because this could cause a riot against Jews in the country. Frederick does not listen to his senior, and he loses his job. A few days pass, and one day he gets a ven that the killer is now killing Mary. Frederick's ven was very accurate, because we see that the killer's driver has now found out about Mary, because he is going to kill Mary. After this ven, Frederick again comes to the royal doctor and tells him that whoever is doing the murder works for Queen Victoria, and to hide the wedding news from the prince's prostitute, so he is killing all the prostitutes. And Frederick asks the doctor, "You are also an old man of the queen, didn't he offer you to hide the wedding news?" As soon as the doctor heard this, he got angry, and the truth came out, that he is actually working for Queen Victoria, and he also killed to hide the wedding news. Not only this, he also had 3 companions, the young doctor and Frederick's senior officer, who kidnapped Mary's friend at the beginning of the movie. Hearing this, Frederick takes his gun to kill Doctor, but before he could shoot, the doctor's second companion attacked him from behind and made him unconscious. Using his chance, the royal doctor goes to kill Mary, while the rest of his companions are trying to kill Frederick. The young doctor was filling a poison injection to kill him. Before the injection hits Frederick, Frederick makes a lot of noise, and the injection hits the young doctor. The royal officer falls off the car, and while taking advantage of this, Frederick also runs out of the car to save his Mary, and before he could reach to save Mary, the royal doctor had killed Mary. Frederick's senior officer also came to this place, and in anger, he asked his senior officer, "Where will I find the doctor? If you try to kill Mary, it will be very bad for you." Poor Frederick. When his mother goes to the dead body, he finds out that the girl who was murdered was not Mary. After finding out, Frederick gives a letter to a shopkeeper in which it is written that she has gone to her village. She also has her friend's daughter with her, and from now on, the purpose of her life is to raise that child. On this side, Queen Victoria was very angry because she gave the order to kill the doctor and the girls so that the news of the prostitute's marriage from the prince could not spread, but some people from the Lord and his agency took out the organs of the girls and started performing rituals. The Lord apologizes to Queen Victoria and tells her that the work of Queen Victoria has also been completed. All the evidence of the marriage of the prince and the prostitute has been erased. The Queen is very happy to know this. On the other hand, the police had also arrested the doctor. He is brought to court, but the doctor does not apologize for his actions. Due to his actions, the court feels that the doctor has gone mad, and he is punished for performing the same experiments to cure the mad people he has removed. The story goes on for years, and we are shown that Mary lives with her friend's daughter on the shore of the sea in a small house. This was exactly the same reality that Frederick had seen for Mary many years ago. In the post-credit scene of the movie, his colleague comes to Frederick's house to wake him up, but when he comes here, he finds out that Frederick is dead. With the coins in Frederick's hand, his colleague finds out that he has died in the grief of his wife and in the memory of Mary. Frederick's colleague picks up the coins, closes his eyes, and puts them on his eyes. But the main accusation escaped.